So here we have an issue where this window, it's the driver's side window, is not working. If we press the button here, nothing happens. And before that, what was happening was it was coming up really slow, and then suddenly one day it would stay up and wouldn't go down, and then you wait a couple hours later, it would come up again. And it's just very erratically the way it was working. I already did a little pre-diagnostics on this, and I'm pretty sure it's the motor. But the things you got to look out for is either a bad switch or a bad regulator, which basically drives the window up and down, or the motor itself, which is in here. Like I said, bad switch, bad regulator, there might not be power coming in, or it's off the track. If it's off the track, you'll see it. Obviously, the window won't be coming up nice and even. It'll be slanted. But that's not what's happening here. What's happening here is the window would stay up sometimes. It wouldn't go down, etc. And one thing I noticed the last couple of months is every time I use the switch here to bring the window up or down, my interior lights would dim, indicating that the motor is drawing more amperage and working harder. And it's working harder because it's failing. All right, so if you see that, that's usually a good indicator. Okay, so I don't think it's the switches, because you can see the switches here. They actually light up, okay, which means that they're receiving power. I took the switch out, and this is the harness. It could be that the power coming in here to the harness, which goes into the controller and then back to the motor, is not working. So there could be no power coming in here. There's a simple way that you can test to see if there's power coming into the harness. You can go online and figure out which of these wires here, which color wire brings the constant power to this, and then just basically probe it and probe the lead and see if you get power. So if you get power, that you know, that's one thing you can eliminate, that there's no power. So if there's power coming in, you can eliminate that and concentrate on the switch, and then concentrate on the motor. All right, it could be that this is not working, and an indicator that this is working or not is on here, there's little LED lights. If the lights are on, that means it's receiving power. It's probably not this. Another thing too, this controls the back windows and the front windows, and if you can get every window to work except that one window, most likely it's not a problem with a controller. It's not a problem with power. Usually the problem is probably the motor. All right, so that's a good indicator that it's probably the motor. If you're able to control other windows with a controller here, but not the window that you're having problems with. I mean, it could be the switch, it could be a stuck switch, it could be other things, but most likely if you see lights on the switch, they're getting power, and most likely it's something else. With that said, we know this window doesn't work. We're going to take all this panel out here, and basically the panel is self-explanatory. You take this out, there's some hidden screws, and it just comes out, and we'll go ahead and test it to see what the problem is. I took the panel out. These wires coming into it also power the passenger side front door. This is the driver's side front door. We have the power here for the window motor, which drives the regulator up and down. One of the things you can do to test if there's a power issue going to the motor, or if it's the actual motor, is I got my probes right here on the harness that supplies power to the window motor, and I have it plugged in to my multimeter on volts. So what happens now is you can see it's 0, and I'll diagnose if it's a power issue, like if the cable is cut or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and press this button right here, which is the window up down, and you will see it should go positive and negative, about 12 volts, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do it the opposite way, and you'll see it change polarity. So that's getting power. So the problem is probably the motor. This is actually the motor right here, and the regulator is this particular model, which is for 97 Toyota Avalon. The motor and the regulator come together. Okay, so here's a new part right here. It's basically a replacement. You do have to specify if you're going driver's side door, which is the left door, or the passenger side door, which is the right door. So you got to make sure you buy the right one. But this one comes with a motor, which is right here, and the regulator, which drives the window up and down on this channel here. So I plugged in the new motor, which is plugged in right there, and let's see if this motor works. And I'll press the button here. Press the button right here, and you can hear it, and you can see it going up. The old one obviously wasn't doing this, and this right here is what's going to sit on that mechanism that goes up, and it's going to take 2 screws, and it's going to go on that track. So that's basically going to be screwed onto this, and that's what drives it up and down, and that's what holds the window in place. Okay, so in order to do this, I had to take the window completely out, because the regulator wouldn't fit here. There's a bolt right here, and the bolt was rubbing up against the window, so I took the window out, and basically comes with a hex bolt, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the bolts, and it just wants to fit into place. That's where the motor is, in the back there. You can actually see the motor. And then we'll go ahead and connect it like it was before. We'll test it out. And then over here, that's where the little brackets that grab the window, and this drives the window up and down. Where the bolts go, you kind of the motor just wants to kind of sit there, so you can take a picture before you remove things, but that's where it goes. One over there, another one there for the motor, and then two, one at the top, one at the bottom for the regulator. Here's the one at the bottom right there for the regulator. Also, the other thing is very important to test it. Test it before you start putting things back. Make sure nothing's hitting it. So I went ahead and connected the motor, and one thing you got to make sure is this wire here doesn't get caught up in a mechanism that goes up and down. So make sure it's out of the way. I'm going to tape it here. You can see how the window sits on the track here on the regulator. There's these plastic clips that hold the window, and then the screw goes through the regulator onto the clip, and then the window goes up and down on the track. And now that we have it, we can actually test this. And let's see if it's going to go all the way up. Beautiful. And it's working. So now we'll go ahead and put our panel back. Make sure again that none of the wires are hitting the regulator when it goes up and down. We'll go ahead and put our plate back, just screwing it in. And one more screw right there. Make sure it's secure. We put the plate, we went ahead and sealed the plastic with this like tar that's here. You want to seal all the way through, make a good seal, that way there's not a lot of noise. And we're ready to go ahead and put our panel. We have our panel. Again, the panel just wants to go into place. There's like a hook along the top here that hooks in. So you can just do that. And then we'll go ahead and put the screws. And basically, there's a screw there. There's another one here where the mechanism is. And there's a few more. But you want to make sure it's nice and secure. So I went ahead and disconnected the control, the window and lock and all that, just so I can work with this a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in place now. And don't forget to connect your light. So I went to the back and I connected it. I almost forgot about it. So that's one thing you don't want to forget about. Make sure that the light is connected. So now that we have some of our screws, we'll go ahead and put the covers on the screws. I just put one here. So I'll put that cover right there. There's these little covers. Snap in like that. Another one right there. And we'll clean that afterwards. And we'll go ahead and continue to put a screw on the bottom here. There's one right there. And once it's done, we'll clean the door. Alright, so we just finished installing all the panel. Everything is back the way it was. And now we can test this and see if it works. And when I press it, there's the window, it works. Alright, so I'd say this is a success. Another thing is, don't forget to go ahead and if you have a light, to plug that light in. Thanks for watching, and if this has been informative to you, please subscribe.